Thank you, Nduka. My governor of Lagos State, governor of Central Bank, Aliko Dangote Jimovia, my Oba Tudeko himself in person, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. The first thing I'm going to point out is that when we are going into these groups, I just want to make a little comment about the limits of monetary policy, because the CBN governor slightly tried to allude to that, in the sense that we talk about a typical businessman faces, when he wants to do a project, thinks about risks and return. That risk-return equation, you want to tilt it in the direction of making many more projects viable, so you have a lot more investment. So there's a serious problem when there are some risks that nobody is touching, which are making projects costly and so on. And they cannot be touched necessarily by monetary policy. You can touch some of those risks with monetary policy, but it's a big mistake to try and fight every problem with money. Because some problems, you fight them with money, you worsen them and you compound the problem. So the next thing I'm going to point out is the governor mentioned that we brought inflation from 18% down to 11% and so on. But it's funny because I gave an interview the other day and said, CBN governors in Nigeria are very good at bringing down inflation when it gets to a level that is politically unacceptable, like 18, 19. When it gets near 10%, they get tired. And the thing now stays at 11%, 10% endlessly. There's no need for that. The same methods that brought it down to 18 from the 11 can bring it down to 5. Now, but it's true. Listen, there are some things in economics like bringing down inflation. Every student can write an essay and pass it. We've seen Brazil bring it down from this figure to 5% and so on. We can do the same. So why aren't we doing it? Let me explain some of the reasons why I think it's also doubly important that we bring inflation to something like 5%. You see, when the governor spoke about exchange rate stability, he knows I'm in favor of that. In fact, if I may reveal a secret, when the exchange rate was 360, and I think one day he was talking and he was thinking of bringing it down to 355, I screamed and told him to hold it at the 360, because I thought that it would be a mistake to take it on a journey that you cannot sustain. So at 360, you could have stability, which we still have. But let me also explain what will threaten that stability. So let's not kid ourselves. If you have an inflation rate that is 11% year on year, US inflation rate is 2%, every year you don't adjust, it's a 9% differential. The solution is not to devalue, but to bring down the inflation rate. You follow me? That's where the solution is. So there's no debate. Who's against managed float? Definitely not me. What some of us were against were multiple exchange rates, which you don't understand. You follow me? You follow me? So effectively, in your second tenure, Mr. Governor, I think we have to find a way to clear up these last vestiges of confusion caused by multiple exchange rates. The other thing I want to point out as well is that, it echoed in this room. Look, Aliko and I go back a long way. He's done phenomenally well. About 2 decades, done phenomenally well. Jim, Mike Atedo and co. Let me tell you what they all have in common. They are all very combative personalities. Because of that, no regulator will go to them and try nonsense. Because most of them know how to deal with that regulator. We have to move beyond that, making Nigeria an economy only for the few people who are very combative. Some of us too are combative enough, so people know what's in regulation. Now let me continue, because those we are destroying are the 22-year-old entrepreneurs, the 25-year-old entrepreneurs. This economy is rigged against the youth, and it's not going to grow. When Aliko and I were 30, we were allowed to grow. Today, we're killing the youth from growing. So it's not going to grow. That's the point I'm making. And the reason, the things we have to correct, you see, any regulator that wants to get applause, just go after some people, destroy some businesses, and the more you destroy, the more they hail you. It's even proof that you're working. That's a paradigm shift. We have to get out of that complete nonsense. Without that, it will negate any monetary policy and everything else. The other thing I want to point out as well is that tax rate, Aliko said, is too high. It's not just the tax rate. A company that the head of FIRS told me is the most compliant in Nigeria that he knows of tax-wise overall in all their dealings. At the last count, they were undergoing 88 parallel tax audits nationwide. Every state government, everybody, I'm sure people like Aliko too are feeling it a little. But you see, but there's a big difference. No, when I say a little, let me explain. You know, I've been a businessman, I'm an entrepreneur myself. There are some tax regulators. No, don't worry. Aliko, you've had your turn.
I have to, you know, what I always say, even to the government, I said that on the judgment day,
yes,
God will say, okay, fine, why are those entrepreneurs from Nigeria? Once we raise our hands, it's okay, you cannot be punished twice. Go to heaven.
Okay.
I know.
Okay, but let me also continue.
You should know what we are facing. In fact, we are facing more trouble than anybody.
I know, don't worry. Take it from me. I know your company, I know your staff. I also know some regulators who tell me that they will go to Standard Chartered Bank, they will try this, but then they won't try Aliko because they are afraid. You get what I'm saying? So you enjoy some protection on account of your positioning in society and perceived ability to call any minister and even the presidency. We are looking for a system that makes it possible for even those who don't have such connections to be allowed to thrive. That's the point I'm making. Now, and please, Mr. Governor, Lagos is the home of all those young entrepreneurs. Part of your responsibility is to protect them from these rogue regulators. Because Lagos is the hub. It's where they're being born and created every day. Aliko is from Lagos. Jim is from Lagos. I'm from Lagos. But now we're killing the young ones in Lagos. Now, let me continue. To give you an example, it's not only about big business or small business. I was telling the governor today that, you'll be following the news about MTN's problems. MTN's problems have become a barometer for the global investment community to look at Nigeria. For those who don't know, first it was investigated by DSS, then the Senate, then Central Bank. Now the police has taken over. After the police, it will probably be ICPC and then EFCC. So which means that people are also going forum shopping. If you have an agenda, you try one regulator. If it fails, you try the next and you continue. Now, we cannot have regulators who are queuing up. In the UK, as soon as the Serious Fraud Office looks at something and says it is nothing, everybody else drops it. Here, the following day, EFCC will take it over. IG will take it over. You can't do business that way. Economy won't grow. Now, let me continue. Just a few other things. Power sector was mentioned. They are all right. But let me just say something here. I'm not speaking for the discourse, but in the power sector, there's some hope, a bit of hope, except that we're not doing the right things to complete the journey. The hope is that most of the problems can be solved if you bring all the participants together in a round table. And also, it's a problem that can be partly alleviated by a checkbook. The money that Nigeria squandered on AMCON, even 1/3 of that will resolve most of the issues in the power sector. Most of the issues. So, but call people together, stop fighting each other. The priority is to have an economy that works for every entrepreneur. The reason the economy is not growing is that there's no investment. Please don't get me wrong. When I say there's no investment, there's one massive investment in refinery, one massive investment in something, one in something else. We need investments all over the place, every which way, for the economy to grow. Not even so much because of turnover, but also because of jobs. We cannot have a nation of 200 million people, of which we have 40 million youths roaming up and down with no prospects and no job prospects. Sooner or later, they'll pull the whole house down. So that's the priority. So please, as you go to your groups and so on, I can say a lot more, but I don't want to cause confusion in the room or to frighten people. So thank you very much.